Hello everyone, welcome back to Global Government News. This is part 2 of the 3-part News Blitz video series from July 24th, 2010. We're continuing with the economy, and we're covering this section of this article titled SEC Reaches Settlement with Goldman Sachs. This is actually a little bit of an older article. It's from July 15th, 2010. Says the Securities and Exchange Commission reached a $550 million settlement with Goldman Sachs Group that will resolve its lawsuit against the firm, alleging it misled investors in a subprime mortgage product, the agency announced Thursday. It says the SEC sued Goldman in April, charging it with fraud in marketing of a complex financial product called Abacus 2007. AC1 that was based on mortgage-backed securities, and from what I've gathered as far as this whole Ponzi scheme went, was that it was basically if it was a bunch of shit piled into a box, and just I guess the way they looked at it, the way they quote packaged these securities and all that, was that they took one mortgage that was crap, right? Was that it was given to somebody that probably shouldn't have received it, but did because of the lenient rules, and they moved towards a credit score instead of actually people that actually had taken out loans before and paid them back. So they made it a lot easier for people to get these loans that were way over what they could have afforded, and there were a lot of little tricks that were done to do it, but basically, yeah, just imagine that you have one bad mortgage security, and then you take one bad mortgage, let's say, and then you got another bad mortgage, all high risk, all most likely not going to pay, and they're going to foreclose eventually once they have to start paying on the interest of that mortgage. And so you got one, and then you got two, and you got three, and then so maybe like 10 or 100, just for example. They're high risk. No one's gonna bet that they're gonna pay them back, and no one's gonna invest in that. But if you, I guess what I'm saying is if you take their mentality was that if you take 1 million of these piece of shit mortgages that were risky, then all of a sudden it's worth something. You see what I'm saying? And now, like I said before, I'm not sure if I fully understand the complexity of this situation, but that's from people that I've talked to and articles I've read and news commentators and financial forecasters. That's what it seems to me to be the case. I just took a bunch of crap and piled it together and stapled it together and said, well, we got all these smashed together, so that must mean something. And so now they have to pay a penalty. It says Goldman denied any wrongdoing, of course, in the lawsuit, but has been under pressure from shareholders to reach a settlement on the fraud lawsuit. 5 days later, July 20th, 2010, Goldman Sachs second quarter profit drops 82% on SEC deal, UK bonus tax. Goldman Sachs Group second quarter earnings slid 82% as the giant investment bank was shocked by its settlement with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the UK's payroll tax through adjusted results, beat Wall Street forecasts. And of course, if you're Goldman Sachs, well then what do? Well, you just latch on to the coattails of the government, which allows you corporation status, and you wait for them to carry out a false flag attack against their country, or something else that happens, and you profit off of it, right? So you can wait for the planes to hit the towers and maybe invest money in the airport and the airline industry that they're going to go down. You're going to bet against the airline industry before 9/11. You're going to bet against the housing crisis while at the same time lending money to people in the mortgage industry. That they're going to go bad. They're going to go sour. And then like when a BP disaster strikes, just weeks before, you can bet against the Transocean or something like that. Basically, the big oil conglomerate there in the Gulf. basically they bet against that, so they made money off the all for that disaster as well. So they'll just do something like that. Well, they'll just bet on some kind of a tragedy or something similar to that to make up their lost profits. Documents detail $4.3 billion in Goldman Sachs payouts. This is from July 24th today. It says international banks and financial companies were indirect beneficiaries of the government's 2008 bailout of American International Group. And of course, that was just kind of a front for the other companies, such as these companies and down here. It says much of the federal rescue money for AIG was used to pay its obligations to its Wall Street trading partners on credit default swaps. The biggest beneficiary of AIG money was Goldman, which received $12.9 billion. It says according to Grassley, the documents show that 5 banks or companies ultimately receiving the largest amount of taxpayer money were the Bank of Germany and the Spanish bank, and of course you got all these other foreign banks. It says another $170 million went to Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corp, which has HSBC operations throughout the U.S. That's, of course, your little Best Buy card and the other stuff. So why does this mean anything to you? The payments have been controversial because of concerns that the banks should have absorbed more losses on their investments rather than be reimbursed with the taxpayer money. And I've already explained the whole system where, as consumers, fraud was carried out against them, and so they lost a lot of their investments and money, and so what happens is then the same people go not to consumers, but they go to the taxpayers, which are the same as consumers, and then they steal their money at gunpoint from them to give back to the people that stole the money from them. So that's how that whole thing works. And this is from Yahoo's real estate section. It says, actually, I'm sorry, it's from CNNmoney.com. It says where the jobs are, and this is from July 20th, 2010. It says, especially now, plentiful job opportunities are key to making a great place to live. These 25 counties have experienced the most job growth over the last 9 years. And to sum it up, basically, it's Texas. No big surprise if you've been paying attention. Texas has been the state that has almost the housing market has had almost no effect on Texas, and a lot of investments going on down there. It says Lincoln County, South Dakota, or Sioux Falls, down in Williamson County, Texas. And the third is Hayes County, Texas, Douglas County, Colorado, Fort Bend County, Texas, which is the Houston area, Webb County, Texas, which is Laredo, Collin County, Texas, which is Dallas, Plano, Broomfield County, Colorado, which is Broomfield, Hamilton County, Indiana, which I thought was kind of funny because I'm from Indiana. It's like one little Indiana state. And the last one they listed was Cache County, Utah. Not very important news, but just thought I'd throw it out there just for GP. But let's check out another headline that I've talked about so many times in other videos about your standard of living being systematically destroyed to where in this mercantile corporatist system, you're going to have basically 3 classes, which are the poor, and then you're going to have the working poor, and then you're going to have I guess technically it would be 4 classes. You'd have the poor, then you'd have the working poor, and then you would have the upper class, then which would be considered the millionaires, and then you'd have the elites. But no more middle class. And it says here from July 15th, 2010, the 22 statistics detailed here prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the middle class is being systematically wiped out of existence. See, I'm sorry, guys. That's why I said it's so funny that when I sometimes I'll make comments, my own personal comments, and then I'll read something like this. And I haven't read this article yet, and it's saying systematically wiped out of existence in America. And it says here are the statistics to prove it. And so you can go ahead and check it all out. So there's pretty good stuff here. I recommend you checking it out. But it says 83% of all U.S. stocks are in the hands of 1% of the people. 61% of Americans always or usually live paycheck to paycheck. 66% of Americans income growth between 2001 and 07 went to 1% of all Americans, and 36% of Americans say they don't contribute anything to retirement. And please join me